Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. All right, guys. So since today seems like it's just going to be a little down, flat kind of day across the markets. I mean, that could change, but that's the way it looks right now. Stocks are kind of flat. Bitcoin, it was at 21.3 yesterday. Now it's at 20,700. So that's where we stand as of right now. I put a update in my community tab, just things to look out for. And I do want to briefly touch on something here. You know, guys, the situation with Voyager, Blockfi, Celsius, all those things. Obviously, if those took a turn for the worst and there wasn't some firm or some company there to backstop them as far as additional liquidity and capital, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bad situation. My issue with covering those things and speculating on them is that every single crypto in this whole industry is built on lies. All right, it's important to understand that. They are still lying about what this is. They're still lying about what's going on right now. They're never going to come out and tell the truth about what this is and how far along this is and what's really going on. So given that the whole industry is built on lies, it is very difficult in situations like this for me to be able to honestly determine whether or not this is a genuine organic situation or whether there's something else going on. And I think that's a fair position to take. There will be real organic situations where companies blow up. And there will also be, in my opinion, things that are done intentionally to serve a particular purpose. Maybe it's scare more people out of the market. Maybe it's just create a lot of fear in general and suspicion around the industry. A number of different things. And so since I cannot myself truly assess which one each of those is, I don't want to speculate on what's going to happen, what could happen, what's going on right now. I will go back to what I've been saying for a year. The only things I can tell you with any degree of certainty, and when I say certainty, I mean as certain as I can be, you can never be 100% sure about anything, is that implementation is going to continue. And that's all. My entire investment thesis is based around they're going to continue to implement the technology. If they continue to implement the technology, at some point in time, price and value are going to meet. Whenever that point in time is, which I don't know and I can't guess, and if I were to try to guess, that's when my confidence level collapses. But whenever that happens, I want to be in the market. And I want to have all my positions built out, and I want to have everything where I want it. And so the main thing that I look at is implementation. Now, other people, the main thing they would look at is price, and they would disregard institutional adoption. I would prefer this market be where it is as far as the price valuations, but yet implementation just be continuing on at a rapid pace all around the world. I would prefer that situation than a 80K Bitcoin with alts up and the last year, let's just assume it didn't happen. Let's just assume that Wall Street didn't get in, big tech didn't get in, countries didn't start adopting, more CBDCs didn't get rolled out. All of those things, right? No country made Bitcoin legal tender. Just imagine all of the adoption that's happened from institutions over the last year did not happen. But yet the prices were much, much higher. I would much rather prefer the current situation than that. Because in that type of an environment, I mean, I would feel less secure with my own investments because the reason I'm investing is because I believe this will continue to be adopted. And had I not seen the evidence, overwhelming evidence for week after week, had I not seen that for the last year, I would feel less confident than I do right now. What happens with the price does not play into my confidence level at all because I believe there's no truth that's being told anywhere at all, period, in the world. I mean, everything we hear is a lie. I mean, I can go and not talk about crypto. I'm talking about everything else. Think about everything else. Why would anybody expect that there's going to be any level of true honesty, truth, real price discovery in this space. It's like too often people talk about this space through the context that there's any degree of honesty and price discovery in the space. I don't know why so everything else is massively corrupt, all right? All of our institutions, all of our entire financial system is built on a giant scam. Literally all of our the media lies about everything. They've been caught in numerous different lies. I mean, you just want to get into the government and the central bankers and everything else. So everything we hear is a lie. Everything is propaganda for the most part. If it has any truth to it, it's leaving out the most important parts. So why would people think that crypto and blockchain in this industry, in this market, and the price action, why would they think that any of that's legit? When we're living in the bizarro world. Things are getting crazier by the second. So I just don't know why people view this through the context that there's any real honesty and price discovery. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so moving on from that. But obviously, guys, I told you my position. I lean more towards the bottom being in, but that's because I'm looking at the data and the evidence. Okay, now I will say, over the last year, there's been other times where, in my opinion, the overwhelming majority of data and evidence points in one direction and the opposite thing happens. All I'm saying is if you assess both cases, if you assess the case for bottom being in and we should be moving higher, if you look at all the data and you look at all categories of Bitcoin holders moving up and you look at supply collapsing, you look at all the different metrics that we've hit, and it's not just supply, I went over numerous other metrics. The amount of evidence that suggests the bottom should be in is overwhelmingly more than the amount of evidence that suggests that we could go lower, barring a situation happening with a company or multiple companies blowing up and having to be pretty much immediately liquidated. So that's all I'm saying. I was looking at the evidence for both and saying there's overwhelmingly more evidence for this case than there is for the other. So that's why I'm saying this is, in my opinion, what should happen based on the evidence. All right, that's it. Okay, so my portfolio, all of that just to all right, so and I want to start with like portfolio philosophy to some degree. I have a lot of positions. I have probably 35 positions. The reasoning for this is I wanted to be spread out over as many good quality projects or companies as I possibly could. I hate calling them projects at this stage. Many of them are just legitimate enterprise software companies that are already being used by large institutions. But I wanted to be in as many as I could. I want to be in as many different sectors as I could. For instance, DeFi, privacy, layer ones, scaling solutions, all these different things, right? Let me see what else here. Infrastructure, something like Anchor, right? So that was I wanted to be in all the different sectors within the new system. So I was as spread out as I possibly could be. So my biggest position by far is ICP. Second biggest is XLM. Third biggest is now Algorand. Now, I've mentioned this before in previous videos. I feel like I'm taking a little bit more risk with ICP than I am with XLM and Algorand, solely because of the amount of adoption from countries and from large institutions that XLM and Algorand already have. Then Bitcoin and Ethereum, AMP, Cosmos, Polkadot, Polygon, Link, Quant, Anchor, and then below that, Aave, Ren, OXT, IOTA, Cardano, Litecoin, Zcash, and these ones that I'm listing off now, these are very, very low down on I have 35 different positions. Then I also have LCX and ELA, Elastos, and I have some more, but I mean, that's the general overview. And if I would ever, when I'm talking to like a friend of mine or a family member and they're asking me about, which ones, I obviously don't give them financial advice, but I always lead with XLM and Algorand because I feel like those two, and you could throw HBAR, XRP in here and the other ones, but I always say XLM and Algorand because of the amount of adoption that they already have. I'm not going to list them all over again. I mean, the entire government infrastructure for El Salvador is running on top of Algorand. Algorand has a $2.3 billion market cap, but yet over $2 billion came into Algorand in 1 week from Skybridge, Borderless, and HiveMind Capital. HiveMind essentially is a spinoff with former Citigroup guys. All right, so over 2 billion came into Algorand in 1 week, and 8 or 9 months later, their market cap is 2.3 billion. On top of that, an entire country's government infrastructure is running on top of Algorand, and now they're going to be working with Nigeria, so it's going to be 2. On top of that, they're sponsoring the FIFA World Cup. It just, the list goes on and on. And for Stellar, I could list off, all the different countries that are already working with Stellar, launching their CBD on Stellar and or their sovereign stablecoin. And they're both official partners of the World Economic Forum. And for me, those two are some of the least risky but high reward options in this space that you could get. And that's why they're 2 and 3 in my portfolio. And I will continue to add to those positions because I view the risk as being very, very, very low for the reasons I listed off. That's not financial advice. Make your own decisions. So yeah, and I'm big on institutional adoption. I'm big on our corporations, our financial institutions, our governments using it, or is it designed for their type of use as opposed to more individual-based use, if that makes sense. And the reason that I'm really big on that is because once corporations or governments or banks start depending on a certain technology to remain operational, in my opinion, it drops risk down dramatically. I think there's an inverse correlation. The amount of large institutions that adopt a certain technology, risk goes down. Okay, so as that adoption from those institutions goes up, in my personal opinion, the risk for that technology specifically starts to go down, down, down. Because now they have a vested interest in making sure this technology succeeds. If that technology does not succeed, if it were to just shut down one day, that is a major, major problem for those countries, those corporations, or for those banks that are using this technology. Okay. Guys, that's all I have. That's all I have for this video. Keep it high and tight. Those are my thoughts. Let me know if you have any questions. Obviously not financial advice. Just doing this for full transparency. Yeah, that's it. I'll give you another update tonight, tomorrow, whenever there's something, more going on. There are some other things I want to cover, so I might do a video tonight or either tomorrow just going over those things as well. That's all I have for this video. Take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.